This is the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mosen.
Happy Thursday, folks. Great to be back here again, and always great having you here with me, Pat. How are you today?
I'm very well. I am holly high today.
I know.
I'm very good. Funny, we were talking off mic about the things that come to interest you, and there was an article recently about baby boomers, and yep, I'll admit it right here on the airwaves. I'm in that baby boomer category. That one of the things that a lot of baby boomers are doing, they're riding Harley motorcycles.
It's all good. I think it's a fabulous thing. Believe me, Pat, it is. Not that I'm not a biker, but I do love those bikes. They're beautiful.
Well, and I got to tell you, as I looked into it a little bit more, my golly, the motorcycle groups out there, they do some wonderful, wonderful things, all sorts of charitable work. When you see a group riding, often they are riding for a very fine charity out there. So, I mean, it's just, I have never been involved in any regard to riding or riding with a group, and I'm just finding it amazing, the kinds of things that they do. And baby boomers, and that's me, are starting to have an interest in this. And I've got probably 5 or 6 neighbors in my neighborhood that belong to different motorcycle groups. And what better way to spend some of your retirement time or your free time, and we can afford it when we do a refi back to a 4% interest rate, right?
right. I mean, the whole experience, just having, and they do great work. A lot of the bikers are involved in great causes. I have a good friend of mine who owns a restaurant. He always has these events with the Harley Davidson crew, and they're always doing something, whether it's some type of charity event, and they're very helpful and in good spirits and always trying to help. It's funny when we started chatting about your interest in the bikes, etc. I think it's a fabulous thing to do. I think that it's a sense of freedom and something that would be fun. Unfortunately, we're heading towards colder weather, Pat, so you better hurry up here.
I know. You can't do it all year round here in good old New England. You can, though, down in Orlando or in many other places. But and you can, if you are a Harley owner of a motorcycle, you can go to a warm state and to any Harley dealer, and you can rent a Harley while you're there in town, so you can use it. And that kind of segues right into our one of our talking points today, Sarah, about taking out a mortgage after you're 60 years of age. Is this a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it depends on where you are financially, and I think that in a situation where you're in your 60s, we have scenarios where you may not even have a mortgage, and now you're looking to perhaps purchase another property, or you're free and clear of a mortgage, you paid your mortgage, yet you have a lot of debt. So in the scenario where you have a lot of debt and you're heading into your 60s, and you're going towards that point where you're going to have a fixed income, it is extremely advisable to take advantage of that free and clear mortgage, that you no longer have a payment, but to take cash out, take equity out, and do a 10-year mortgage or even a 15-year mortgage, because it's good debt. As you know, holding a mortgage is not bad debt, it's good debt. And that will ease your financial burden of the high interest rate credit cards, as well as allow you to take some additional equity out to invest in other areas. We recently worked with a wonderful couple who wanted to take money out of their current home. They did not have a mortgage, and it worked out in their favor just because of the fact that interest rates are at 50-year lows. Fixed rates are in the 3s if you're doing a 15-year term. And it allows you the ability to get rid of that debt and student loan issue. Because if you look at all the bills, and people are probably like horrified, they're thinking, well, why should I take out a mortgage after I've paid off the mortgage? Well, if you look at all your bills, and if you have $1,000 in bills each month that's going out towards 8, 10, 18% interest rates, you're going to end up losing a lot of money because the interest rates are so very high. If you take out, let's say, a 3% rate mortgage for 15 years, you can pay off all of that debt and end up with a mortgage that might be $400 or $500. So your bills are gone, and all you have is a $400 or $500 payment in your mortgage.
And that's tax deductible at the end of the year
right.
as well. So
exactly.
It really makes sense. And if you wanted to, you could buy yourself a Harley too, couldn't you,
yes,
Sarah?
You
with
can.
With that cash out.
So, you can dream, you can.
So it really may be a good idea for you if you're in your 60s and don't have a mortgage, but you do have other things left over. Maybe you still are paying off a student loan. I feel like my husband and I paid off our kids' student loans for a long time after they were out of college, and those interest rates are surely higher than a 3 or 4%. So it just makes sense all around to borrow money at a cheaper rate, money that you can claim at the end of the year on your taxes, than to just be putting it out on plastic or student loans or even car loans or anything. So it really, maybe you do want to do some renovating of your house. We talked about that yesterday, about a gal that Sarah really assisted with doing that very thing. You know,
Well,
Go
right.
ahead, Sarah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think that we're allowed to have fun.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, Pat? I know we talk a lot about debt, but in respect to some of the things that we do, which I forget to mention, I always add that fun factor where if you're paying off debt, it's going to give you options to have more fun because you're now going to not have those additional bills. So even if you can then now go on a vacation or do something with your grandkids or do something that extra special there, you want to start a trust fund for them, things like that. You should have joy. Like you've always said that to me, Pat, and truly I admire that, and I remember that once you had mentioned to me about joy, and that is far greater than any dollar amount or anything else, you know, when it comes to life. So this is an opportunity for someone who may be looking at, even if you're in your 40s or your 30s, but if you're even reaching your retirement age, you can at least have a little joy in your life as well by eliminating debt, because it's going to give you a lot of joy. I promise you on that.
And just in case any of our listeners within the sound of our voices are wondering about that joy, to special friends, and Sarah is a special friend and family, and one Christmas I gave some special people what I considered the gift of joy. And to me, the difference between joy and happiness is joy is a steadfast, fundamental bedrock, always present in our world, despite what is going on all around us. And, you know, I often envision, Jesus in the boat with the disciples, and they're trying to get across the water, and the storm comes up, and they're all in a total fury, and they're all terrified, and Jesus is napping, and they're like, wake up, we're gonna perish here. And and he wakes up, and he is still the same steadfast, joyful, fundamental who he is, and he just calms the water and calms them and tells them not to worry. I was here, always there, always present. And that's what we have, in my opinion, the ever present joy, which is a little different than the happiness. We could be sad and worried and have a bit of anxiety over situations that come and go in our world, but the bedrock of joy is always there, present with us. So that's just a little bit of description of what Sarah was referring to with my opinion of joy and happiness.
Well, it just struck me as something that was very much significant when you did do that. So I want to thank you for that. And it is important for folks to also focus on that as well, because when it comes down to our day-to-day living, there's a lot of anxiety and stress. And it's just not something that can be corrected unless you're looking at what is causing that anxiety. And a large part of it is the financial burdens that we face. So if you have 80% of Americans that are struggling with their bills and have credit card debt at least $10,000, that's going to cause some stress in your home life.
And Sarah, pretty soon Marita's going to be stressed out because she's She, as soon as you said that, I could see her smile because she knew I was going to segue into Marita is telling us it's time to wind down for this Thursday, but always a pleasure. Give Sarah a call at 1-800-662-9550.
Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.